Hi. Have you ever dreamed of leaving your 9 to 5 upon the shelf and just enjoying yourself? Well, literally, our guest today did just that. If that sounds interesting to you, stay tuned to hear his story. But first, hi, I'm Jace.
Hi, I'm Lynn.
Welcome to our channel,
Gen X
GenX
Quench.
Quench. On this channel, we really want you to stop waiting to live and live now. So that's really what this is going to be about today. But first, again, if you haven't been to our channel, be sure to like, share, and subscribe.
Yes, definitely hit that subscribe button. We're happy you're here. If you're new to the channel, welcome. And if you're one of our regulars and part of the Quench crew, welcome back.
And so I will have Akeem introduce himself. And Akeem, I stumbled upon you on Stephanie Perry's channel. I was listening one Saturday, saw you. I said, I got to get in touch with this brother and get his story. So if you could introduce yourself and your company, Live Be Do.
Okay, well, thank you guys. First of all, thanks for inviting me to your platform. For those of you
Absolutely.
who don't know me, I am your favorite travel host, Akeem, with Live Be Do. I I organize and host group trips in Colombia, Cuba, Morocco, and Brazil. So, in a nutshell, and we've just started doing relocation immersion experiences, 1 month relocation immersion experience. That's our latest experience that we added to our platform, where we allow people who are looking to live abroad. We bring them to right now. We're bringing them to Cali, Colombia, to stay for 1 month to test drive living abroad. It's not necessarily for people who are looking to live in Colombia, but people who don't know where to start. We kind of, let them test drive living abroad. It's kind of like a boot camp where we allow them to tour neighborhoods,
Okay.
talk to lawyers about immigration, talk about healthcare, talk about all the important things that you need to know. We feel like people need to know or should know when they're considering moving to a place or living abroad. So, sometimes people just, how sometimes you've been to a place and you had a great weekend or a great week and you say, I can live here. Well, outside of that, we want to
Right.
give you we want to
Right.
give you the importance though. We want to put you on the right track. So even if you say, hey, look, Cali was nice for a month, Colombia was nice for a month, I want to go to Spain, at least you know where to start. You know how to begin your search. You know what you should be searching for. So
Mm.
that's the important thing about that experience. And we're excited about that. Like
All
I told
right.
you
Yeah.
earlier, yeah, I told you earlier, I'm here in the States, but I'm simultaneously hosting a group that is doing the 1 month experience now in Cali, Colombia. So
Now, a quick question. So are they actually living with Colombians when they're down there? Or are they living on their own, or how does that work?
no, they're living on their own. We have
Okay.
we have them in their own spaces, their own apartments, and for this particular group, they chose studio apartments. So there
Okay.
are two options. You can either book the experience and then book your accommodation separately,
Mhm.
or
Okay.
you can book. We have an option where you can book the experience uh, that comes with a studio apartment. So they
Okay.
have their
Got
own
it.
So,
studio
yeah,
apartment.
totally turnkey, so to speak, so that, they just show up.
Right, right.
All right.
And so the
Yep.
name Live Be Do, that sounds more than just a brand. Where did that come from? What's the origin
It's
behind the name?
actually not a brand.
Okay.
It's not a brand. It was a mission statement. It
Okay.
was it was. I'm a contractor. I'm a home improvement contractor
Okay.
in on the East Coast in Central
Okay.
Virginia. And I remember back in maybe 15 years ago, as a man from humble beginnings. Once you start your own business, there's no time off.
Right.
Right.
There's no PTO. There's no. So managing I was fortunate enough to be busy, always booked and busy.
Mhm.
And so coming from humble beginnings, I looked at it as, okay, I need to get all of this because I don't know when this is going to dry up.
Right.
Right.
And so I would work and work and work and work. And I would, as much as I like to travel, I would promise myself, I would say, Akeem, this is not sustainable. You're going to work these next two contracts and then you're going to take a break.
Mhm.
Okay.
Or there will be a financial goal. You're going to make this after you finish those contracts, you'll be here and
Mhm.
you should take a break, just take a break. And
Okay.
so I found myself, like many other people, you set the goal for here,
Right.
but then you're way over here.
Right.
And it's like, like after I've worked like maybe let's say I worked 6 months straight without a break, I'm like, I'm feeling it. My body
Right.
is feeling it.
Yes.
My
Right.
body, I'm anxious.
Mm-hmm.
There's some depression in there. There's like all kinds of things, all of the symptoms of burnout.
Mhm.
Okay.
So I remember getting sick to a point where if my phone rang, it gave me anxiety. If I had a
Wow.
notification,
Right.
so Live Be Do was more of Live Be Do came from that. It was me telling myself, you can't die doing this. This is not,
Right.
this is,
Mhm.
there's life outside of work.
Right.
So it just was a way for me to be more intentional about scheduling my breaks. As intentional as I am about scheduling contracts, I need to schedule rest. I need to schedule breaks.
Mhm.
And so Live, Be, Do was something I told myself. I had t-shirts made with Live, Be,
Mm-hmm.
Do, but it was for me, for myself. I had these little wristbands, but it
Right.
was made for myself. So
Mhm.
that's really where the name came. It was a mission for me.
Okay.
Mhm.
Now it snowballed into, okay, I would take a break at Puerto Rico in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico was my mental health break. That was my weekend spot.
Okay.
And so I would wear my t-shirts and take pictures and post them on my social media. And it
Mhm.
resonated with a lot of people.
Mhm.
Yeah, it
Okay.
still does. It still does. It resonates with a lot of people. They look at it and just live, be, do. Like if a person is in burnout and they see this, it automatically resonates with them. It's like, not necessarily burnout, but you haven't had a break or your
Right.
lifestyle, there's no work-life balance. This resonates with people like that. So
Mhm.
people started requesting the shirts.
Okay.
And now
And
at this point, you're still just doing contract work
right,
and you're traveling really more just for personal travel and
yeah,
vacation. Okay.
yeah,
And this shirt is your mission, your mantra, your reminder to yourself to take
yeah,
care of yourself.
yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So I'm out and, people just they requested to buy the shirts. And this is where I was, I'm a contractor. I have my own money. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't need to sell shirts. So, if somebody asked, I would be like, okay, well, yeah, I'll send you a shirt. And they're like, no, like how much?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow. So I'd be like, okay, well, it costs this much or whatever, 25, $30. And then I'll mail it to them. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about not just people where I live. There were people all over the world. I was mailing this Live Be Do shirt to people in the military, like overseas,
Mm-hmm.
like
Okay.
people in different countries, people in different states. And so from that, it kind of morphed into, okay, yo, I see you going to Puerto Rico a lot. I like how you travel Puerto Rico. Or it would be either that or I've been to Puerto Rico 5 times and I've never seen that. Like, can we go? Like, can I go? Can you give me share your itinerary with me? Or, can
Okay.
I go? Can I go? Can I go? Because a lot of people you give them the itinerary and they're still like, well, I don't feel comfortable traveling by myself.
Right.
And I
Right.
know that
Right.
you're connected with certain people, so can we travel with you? And then from there, it became a business
Okay.
unofficially. And
Mm-hmm.
it's still a shock to me. I still don't really, for me, it's still more of a hobby, but I just enjoy doing it. I enjoy traveling. And I enjoy helping people. There was a servant aspect that came
Mm-hmm.
from it as well, like
Mm-hmm.
helping people to find a rhythm, find that balance to
Mm-hmm.
where it doesn't necessarily have to be vacation travel. It just becomes a part of your life. Like it's a
Right.
lifestyle. Like, hey,
Right.
I've worked, I've earned, I've worked hard, and this is the reward to myself. This is the kind of rest that I want. And that translated into that for so many people. I had to make it that for me because my phone rang off the hook.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, even if you go to Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory, so your
Right.
phone is going to ring.
Right. Right.
So I had to start going further, and that's
Okay.
how I fell in love with Morocco and Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So
And Cuba as well.
what's the timing from the standpoint of how many years as far as like when you reach this point of live be do and the t-shirts and kind of going from the informal, the personal side to starting the business? What years was this?
Wow, man. So let's say the burnout was starting in 2011, 2012.
Okay.
Okay.
Then from there, Live Be Do came about the end of 2017.
Okay.
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 So that's when I started making my shirts and things like that, around 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And then around 2018, that's when friends, 2017, 2018, 2019, that's when friends would start traveling with me to Puerto Rico, uh, Cuba,
Mm-hmm.
because Cuba was new. Cuba had just opened
Right.
around 2016, and I started going in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
So it was a period of time. It was an
yeah, it was a
evolution.
pretty,
And a lot of people in
yeah,
our audience are 40s, 50s, 60s. And, we know this moment all too well as far as work,
Burnout.
and,
Yep.
yeah.
burnout and that type of thing. Why do you think we do that to ourselves? And you talked about like the goal and always like moving the goal line. Why do you think that happens?
I think that's just how we're socialized.
Mm.
And I think that over time, things have just gotten so expensive in the US. I remember when, we remember when there was a time, or at least it's a myth or legend that there was a time when the family could be held together with one income.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And and so now, like, towards the early to mid 2000s, or maybe even sooner, that started to disappear.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, and then me being from the Bronx, I'm born and raised in the Bronx.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't an option for me. But
Right.
for people, collectively, there was this culture of get the bag, get the bag, get the bag. So
Mm-hmm.
that's an us thing. I don't know. I think it's just how we're socialized in the US. And then everything is so much more expensive for us here
Mm-hmm.
versus when you have friends overseas and they go to work, but after work, they separate work,
Right.
work from real life. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we know, and there's hustle culture.
Right.
So that's where I come from, and I think a lot of people that we've been socialized like that. That's
Right.
that's
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
all I can.
And I would even say in the African American community, we're always told as kids, work twice as hard for half as much. So it's
Yeah,
just kind of ingrained.
Well,
yeah,
that and having parents that wanted us to have a better life than they did. So you always kind of grew up with this generational access was cut off for so much of our ancestors and forefathers that it just kind of like every generation has to do better than the
right,
generation before. And better is work, money, material things, possessions, and that type of thing. And then to your point, you do that and we're, burning ourselves into the ground almost, driving
yeah,
ourselves into the
exactly.
ground by doing that.
Yeah, exactly. A job, a side gig, a hustle,
Right.
uh,
And then
so
raising a family and being involved in your community or your church or something like that, just everything is taking up time and having you running from point A to point B to point
right,
C. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you mentioned Cuba and Puerto Rico, and that really was what kicked it off. So it sounds like Puerto Rico was the first place that you were going to. And then how did Cuba come about? I know that, standpoint opening up, was it more curiosity or more opportunity?
Well, it was curiosity. It was just curiosity.
Okay.
I was curious about Cuban culture. I was curious about. I had just started getting into, I guess, Latin American culture, or
Hmm.
Afro-Latin culture and history and things like that. So I was really curious. And Cuba had been closed off
Right.
for for since before I was born. So
Hmm.
there was just a curiosity. And it's funny because a lot of people don't realize this. In those days, I was definitely afraid of flying. So
Oh, wow.
that was another reason I flew to Cuba and Puerto Rico as often as I did, because I wanted to see the world and I needed to get acclimated to flying.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, I had to do that. And anybody who knows me, if you went and asked my friends, they will tell you it went from needing ZQL, I needed to be asleep,
Mm-hmm.
very anxious on flights to now, turbulence is like a warm hug to me.
Okay.
Not quite at that point yet, but I feel you from that standpoint.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
so Cuba and Puerto Rico provided the travel that from the East Coast, it was
yeah,
a good way to get your air legs, so to speak, as far
yeah.
as, not flying all the way across the world, but 2, 3, 4 hour flights to get to where you're going.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly,
that
exactly.
makes sense.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and that did that. But in that process, I kind of inadvertently made relationships. You know,
Okay.
I knew people. I started, I knew, so I would go to Puerto Rico a lot. And there's a small town called Loíza right behind the airport when you land in San
Okay.
Juan, and that's a black town.
Mm.
So I made friends with some well-known families in those communities back there. And so, and not even intentionally.
Mm.
It
Mhm.
wasn't intentional. And so it became one of those things. It kind of was the perfect storm because it was like, yo, like you're out there with the maestro Raul Ayala. And I'm like, yeah, like we just, I just
Hit
and
it
people
off.
thought that was cool. People.
Hmm.
And so later on, when the travel, when it became, I don't know, when it seemed like a good idea to start hosting group trips, I had these connections,
Hmm.
Okay.
and it was like, I can't hoard this to myself. Black people need to see this. Black people need to see other
Right.
black people in Latin America. Black people need to see black
Hmm.
communities outside of the United States that isn't the typical Afro-Caribbean or African culture. So
Hmm.
that became a thing, like by accident. It wasn't even
Okay.
intentional. It was just, so Live Be Do kind of became Afro tourism,
Okay.
connecting Black travelers with Afro tourism. And
That actually
yeah,
is a great segue because I was going to ask you next, what does a typical Live Be Do trip look like and you talked about trying to connect folks to, different African cultures, the diaspora around the world. So what does that look
yeah.
like?
So basically, the places, not necessarily, we know that there are Black people in the Caribbean islands. There are Black
Mhm.
Caribbeans. We know that. And we know
Hmm.
that there are Black people in Africa. They're well
Mhm.
represented. Islands like Jamaica, Barbados, Bahamas,
Right.
Trinidad, Black people are well represented. Um, but in Latin culture and in Northern Africa, Latin America and Northern Africa, Black people aren't well represented. So we look at those from the US, we look at those places and we don't see ourselves. We don't see
Right.
ourselves reflected in their media. We don't see ourselves reflected in their music and things like that. As much as, the representation doesn't match the size of the community.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So what does it look like? You go to the website, just starting from the basics, people go to the website, they book, they fill out the registration form, we add them to a group chat. We have a conversation much like this. We do a virtual call. Um, they have the itinerary. We go over the itinerary. People are usually excited. Most people who hit us up or reach out to us, they know that, this is what's going to happen. There's no surprises. When I say surprises, it's not like this is not something for vacation travelers.
Right.
So it's not going to be resort on a beach or anything like that.
Hmm.
So we give them as much of that information as possible. We arrange they pay for their airfare. We arrange their airport transfers. So we get them picked up from the airport when they land in whatever city and whatever country the trip is being hosted in. We get them to the accommodations, hotel, typically, usually. And then we start the itinerary. The itinerary is typically one experience per day and kind of an immersion in the afternoon where they get an opportunity to make your own friends. So
Okay.
like people in those communities, if they're free, they'll usually invite you to something like, say if there's so for example, one day we'll do a cooking class. And then the host of that cooking class may say, hey, there's a salsa thing happening tonight somewhere. So there's an opportunity for the group to actually go after the tour, hang out at night, and meet local people
Okay.
and kind of, make their own friends. And one thing about a Live Be Do trip, you're guaranteed to make local friends on every trip. And what we do is kind of a buffet, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of that. And we've had clients who actually form their own relationships and they go back on their own,
Right.
So
Okay.
that's pretty much how Live Be Do trips. That's our objective. So
Okay.
we want people to feel comfortable traveling. Of course, we talk about ethical travel, ethical tourism, and how to behave in spaces that, although we're doing immersion. So we're not in tourist zones a lot. Sometimes we venture out of tourist zones. So how to handle ourselves outside of the tourist zones and not flash cameras in people's faces and, do things that you would typically do in a tourist zone. To be mindful that immersion is like going into neighborhoods. So think of it as the things you do in those neighborhoods, you wouldn't allow people to do in your neighborhoods. Or,
Right. The behavior.
Imagine people coming into your neighborhood. So it's kind of like that. That's how we teach it.
Okay.
That's how we, so you wouldn't walk up and grab people's children, or you wouldn't allow somebody to come into your neighborhood and just grab children and start taking photos with them.
Right.
Give the same respect when we're traveling, doing our immersion experiences. Of course, if you're in a tourist zone and there's somebody dressed up as a character or something, that's there for that. And, you pay them appropriately and you take the photos or get the content. But there's a whole, a whole different message or a whole different style of travel, a whole different set of rules that comes with immersion, cultural immersion. So
how long is the typical trip and how many people are in the group? And I know it may vary, but on average.
Now, that's a great question. We do a lot of Thursday to Tuesday trips.
Okay.
Because we get a lot of repeat travelers and we don't want people to use all their PTO. So you don't have to use all your PTO.
Right.
You can travel with us from Thursday to Tuesday. And usually the group size is somewhere between 10 to 15 people.
Okay.
Yeah, we've done the large groups, and just for the quality of the experience, it's just better to keep it under 20 people. And we let people know that the tours are optional. So if you choose to stay by the pool for the entire experience, that is completely up to you.
Okay.
So you don't have to get up, because sometimes our itineraries are intense. Get up in the morning and go to another town or go to, and after, months of working, or if you've got a hectic schedule at home, sometimes people come to our experiences and say, they just say, hey, look, this first day, I'm not going to do any tours. I'm just going to rest.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So,
so there's flexibility as far as,
flexibility.
From the standpoint of the person that is on the group tour. It doesn't have to be, they can kind of pick and choose, although you make it very clear what the itinerary is and the purpose of it, but people can still get out of it what they want and what they need.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Some people will, for example, we had some people come to Brazil. We did Brazil in November. And there was a young lady who came she wanted to do some of the things that were on our itinerary, but she had her own ideas, her own thing. And for her, it was just a matter of not wanting to travel to Brazil alone.
Okay.
So she had the group, and she was that gave her the security she needed to explore on her own and do the things that she wanted to do and still meet up with us at certain points. And, she made it her own experience.
Right.
Okay. Got it.
So from the standpoint of places, use Puerto Rico, Cuba, you said Brazil, Morocco.
Yes.
So those are the locations right now on the list. I assume that plans to expand potentially, but
we've got our eyes on Portugal and Spain.
Okay.
Okay.
And as much as I want to venture into Africa and do Jamaica and stuff like that, I have my lane is, those spaces where it's not Black people just, it's not obvious that we're there. And there's so many people going to Ghana. So if you're watching and you want to go to Ghana, there are so many people hosting
Right.
trips to Ghana. There's so many people going to Tanzania, South Africa. Although those are on our list, we're looking for, we've had success in places like Lisbon, doing the African Lisbon tour, Afro-Iberica in Madrid, Spain, and, stuff like that. That's kind of our niche.
So have you personally considered or explored living abroad full time, not just visiting? Is that on your radar?
I've lived, and I live part-time in Cali, Colombia.
Okay.
I've had apartments in Cali, Colombia. I've lived, I've been in relationships, romantic relationships and things like that. That is definitely in my future, but the way my business is set up, I'm always going to have to come back to the US. So I'm always going to have to go back and forth. But I see that the live like a local thing we see so many people coming into the country and into Colombia or even Mexico or wherever, going places, and they're just not well equipped. And there aren't people. We didn't see many people who who we thought served the Black traveler the way we could. So ours is branded specifically, not exclusively, but specifically for Black travelers. We get a lot of Black women and keeping a safe space.
Yeah.
Okay.
All of the cultural things, the things that we understand about Black people from the United States, we make sure to observe that. One of the things that I have started telling people, and this is important to all Black travelers from the U.S.
Okay.
Protect your culture.
Okay.
And demand respect for your culture. There are so many people from the U.S. Sometimes we come in and, people just feel like they can just throw off on on our culture and things like that. And I say, listen, if you don't stand up for your culture,
no one else.
Exactly. No one else will. And it opens the door for further disrespect and misunderstandings further down the line. Because, a lot of times I'm really adamant and proactive about and intentional about, hey, we respect the local culture. It has to be reciprocated,
Right.
Don't, if somebody, so for example, I'm going to use this as an example. People who've never been to the United States will judge us based on a movie that they've seen, actors or musicians. And they'll, whatever media they're consuming from the United States, it doesn't always paint us in a positive light. And so a lot of times, if that's their only contact or their only, connection with our culture, things can get lost in translation.
Right.
So sometimes they'll say things like, oh, you guys don't take hot showers. And or don't take cold showers, or you have to have hot water. And I'm like, well, yeah, we have winter where I live. So that's a thing where we live. They don't understand that. So sometimes, there's that exchange. You have to have that exchange and let them know. We had a recent situation where a guy was, talking to the ladies, and they kind of felt guilty. He was showing them how to cook a typical Colombian dish, and he was like, you Americans don't cook. And it's not true. You know what I'm saying? It's not true. And so, I encourage people, look, challenge people and educate them about your culture. Don't just do the guilt trip because, a few of the people in the group were like, well, that's true. And that's, and it may be true, but why don't you cook? You don't cook because you work all the time. It's not because you don't want to cook.
Right.
You have to throw in it. You have to
give the context.
Give context.
Give context
add context to it. Don't just let them beat up on you. Protect your culture. Protect your culture because You know, it's easy for people to say, oh, the stuck-up American or this and
Mhm.
that, but they
Mhm.
just don't understand our culture. And
Right.
I encourage people, I listen, because you let those little things go and
Mhm.
eventually it'll lead to disrespect. So
Right.
we
Right.
don't want to
Right.
get that. It's exchange. I always tell
Right.
people this is cultural exchange.
Right.
Right.
As much of their culture we're learning and consuming, we have to give context to who we are because they really don't know who we are.
Yeah,
No more than
that's
we
an
know.
excellent
Yeah,
point because I think travel does a great job of dispelling that myth of stereotypes that Americans have of other people. But to your point, when we do travel and bring ourselves to these countries, there is the opportunity for us to dispel any myths that people and stereotypes that they may have of us. So,
exactly.
as you say, it is
Two-way
a
street.
two-way street and a learning
Yeah,
opportunity.
it
Yeah.
is. It
Yeah.
is. And
That's a great point.
yeah, I encourage people, even on some of our trips, especially when we have these large gatherings with other Black people in Black communities. All right, as much as we've learned about your history, we've learned about your story, we're going to do something. We're going to give, maybe not equally, but we're going to leave something with you. We're going to leave you with the electric slide.
Okay.
We're going
Right.
to leave you with spades. We're
Okay.
going to leave you with something so that, you can, it kind of creates a connection. So the next group that comes in, or when other Black people from the United States come in, you have something that they can kind of, there's a
Do
little bit of
together.
information that they can kind of relate to, or they can kind of say, hey, we played Uno with the last group. Do you guys play Uno? Things like that.
Right.
And
Right.
not let it just be, as much as possible. I don't want people to associate us with money. Oh, these Americans are coming in, they're bringing in money. No, I want us to get far away from that and have more substance.
That's
Like
good.
Very good.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's good.
Let
because
me,
it's damaging.
Mhm.
It's Medellin, places in Mexico, places in Spain. That go home gringo thing is,
Mhm.
because we're known for going and being flashy and throwing money around, and it's like, yo, there's more to. If you're coming to live, if you're trying to escape something from the United States, or if you're trying to leave something behind, or if you're looking for something new, there are things you're going to have to shed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's not necessarily deny yourself certain things as much as it's amplifying other things about you.
Right.
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 Giving people things, giving people more to you, letting people know that there's more to you than your credit card or your American dollar. Like, we have a culture, we have a style of eating, we
Mhm.
eat collard greens. Oh, this is how you make your rice, this is how we make our rice,
Mhm.
things like that. So
Right.
we have a lot in our Black community in Cali, Colombia, we have a lot of opportunities to share our culture. And I think that's important.
It
And
is.
that's one thing I want to leave with Black travelers. Um, Make sure that, and it's not our responsibility, but if you don't want to be seen as a dollar, then give something more than money.
Mhm.
Leave
Right.
more
Right.
than
Right. Right.
Very good. What would you say to the person who's maybe denied him or herself? They're working 9 to 5, they're raising kids. They'll say, "Oh, well, I'll travel when the kids get out of college, or I'll travel when I retire." What would you say to them to convince them that they should probably travel before then?
I would say don't wait. I would say if there's any way, look at your finances, and
Mhm.
if there's anything you can cut out. For example, I was dating a young lady once, and she had to have the $5 or $6 Starbucks
Okay.
every day. And I
Mhm.
was like, listen, if you cut the $5 Starbucks Monday through Friday, that's $25. If you did that 4 times, that's $100 every month
Right.
that you can put to somewhere. Where else can we find some money for you to redirect?
All right.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of people sometimes look and they think we're rich, and it's like, I'm not rich. I just don't spend money on certain things.
Right.
Travel is a priority. Whereas,
Mhm.
I don't have to I don't have to eat out. I don't
Mhm.
have to spend, oh God, it's expensive to eat out.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
things like that. And believe it or not, I've been able to help a lot of people to reprioritize. I've had a lot of friends who didn't think travel was important.
Mhm.
And once they got the travel bug, once they got the passport, it's like, yo,
This is fun. Yeah.
yeah, like my one friend in particular, my gym membership costs as much as a flight.
Mhm.
My
Hmm.
monthly gym membership, and just showing people where to find the deals and how to navigate, it's transformative. So for those, going back to what you asked, raising a family, I travel with my children. So I have
Okay.
3 children, and when I was going to Puerto Rico, my kids went to Puerto Rico
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
on my income.
Mhm.
Okay.
I didn't, I was co-parenting with their mom, and she didn't have to contribute to us
Mhm.
going to Puerto Rico. She didn't have to contribute to us going on cruises wherever we went. Um, but that was just the lifestyle that I chose,
Right.
and I
Right.
prioritized things to make sure that we were able to do it together.
Mhm.
So, I would say find those things. If there are things that if there are ways that you can redirect finances,
Hmm.
if, eating out or,
Mhm.
outfit shopping and things like that, because travel, though it's not cheap, it doesn't have to be super expensive.
You're right.
Right.
You're right.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
All right. Is there anything you wish you had done sooner, whether it's a trip, a decision, a moment you almost talked yourself out of?
I wish I had done sooner. Generally, I wish I had traveled sooner to certain places before they got inundated with tourists.
Okay.
So
Yes,
have
that's a
you
good
ever
one.
been to a place where they say, "Oh man, I've been traveling here." I was I remember when for example, a hotel room was $15.
Mhm.
In this particular country. Those are the only things that Everything else I think happened in its proper time.
So you've got the group trips, you've got the live like a local. What's next for you and live be do? What's on the horizon of things that you want to keep doing, stop doing, start doing something new?
Um, I think live like a local. I think focusing more on relocation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
As far as Live Be Do is concerned, the
Mm-hmm.
group trips are great, but like I said, everybody's doing group trips. There's so many good groups, great travel groups that you can travel to certain places with.
Mm-hmm.
I think the relocation piece is going to be very important because it needs, and especially now in this this political climate and things
Yes.
Yeah.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at so many people who have left the United States and realize they hadn't done their homework and they're
Right.
either coming back or they're looking for other countries to go to. There are lots of opportunities in the relocation space. So I think that's where I'm going to sit for a moment.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I've already cut back on hosting so many group trips because the relocation space is there's so many opportunities there to help people.
They
So
call it the
yeah,
next great migration. So
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we're
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
definitely seeing it.
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And also explaining to people or showing people how to relocate, but giving them space to relocate in their own way, according to their own way. You know, you don't have to sell everything and move.
Right.
Right. Right.
I don't recommend that you do that. I recommend that you test, but
Hmm.
everybody has different needs. Everybody is looking for, everybody's relocating for different reasons. So that's on my list is to figure out what those reasons are and to be able to help different people, find their space outside of the United States. That's going to be big. It's already a big thing right now, actually.
Hmm.
And one of the things, just going back to that, since we're, sharing you with our audience and your services. So this relocation, you mentioned earlier in the conversation that it really is a learning opportunity that it's not necessarily that wherever you do the Live Like a Local program, that the people that are going may live there. It really is an educational opportunity for what are the things. So you could take that trip, that experience with you. And then, okay, I really want to go to another country, but because I spent this time, this month in this place, I'm better equipped to go to someplace else. So that makes it almost a little bit different, right? Like Jay says, you're not giving people a fish, you're teaching them how to fish so that they could do that experience in Colombia. But to your point, if I really want to live in Spain for a month, I don't have to wait for you to build a program in Spain. I can take that experience and that knowledge and know how to craft my own 30 days in another place.
Yes, exactly.
That's great. Yeah.
Exactly. That's our mission. That's our objective. We chose Cali, Colombia because I live in Cali, Colombia part-time. I'm well connected in Cali, Colombia. And as far as beyond just traveling there, immersing yourself in the community, meeting people, learning how to create community, learning how to search for neighborhoods. I figured, I could do the most there.
Right.
And then from there, from what, the information that you gain from that experience, now you know how to search for neighborhoods in Spain or in Portugal or in, whatever country in Asia, wherever you want to go. As you stated, you know how to begin your search. You know how to put together your own program based on the experience you had in Cali, Colombia. So yes,
right.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's cool.
Very good.
That's good.
Yeah.
So we're closing up and wrapping up. So where can our audience find you, follow along, book a trip with you? Where's the best way for people to reach you?
The best way to reach Live Be Do is our website, livebedo.com. Okay. All of our trips are listed on our website. We also have the option to book a consultation on the website. If you need to speak to me directly, info@livebedo.net. I do not advise the DMs. Please do not DM me on social media. My DMs are crazy. Okay. I'm still finding, I went and cleaned out some of my DMs and found messages from 2024, people requesting information about trips.
Wow.
So the best way to reach me directly is by email, info@livebedo.net. Go to the website. If you're interested in traveling with us, look there. If you don't see it there and you have questions, or if you have a small private group that you're interested in creating an experience for, you can contact me via email. You can go on our YouTube, Live Be Do. Instagram, Live Be Do, TikTok, Live Be Do. Okay. And we have the Live Be Do Facebook community. We also have the Live Like a Local relocation immersion experience community on Facebook. So
lots of ways. We'll put the links in the description for our audience.
Yeah. And once again, thank you guys so much for sharing your platform with me and Live Be Do, and letting people know that letting people know what we do. I really appreciate it.
Oh no, like I said, I saw you with Stephanie and said, I got to talk to this brother, see what this experience is like. And, your story was fascinating to me of, going from a home contractor to adding this business and just catching the travel bug. I could totally relate to. I guess I kind of did my own Live Be Do experience when I was in Panama for a month, living with a Panamanian family and getting immersed and falling in love with the country and the people. So I could totally relate. So.
Right. Yeah, we definitely relate. This is what we talk about on our channel, as far as like, it's not too late, you're not too old. And we definitely love highlighting people that are in the travel space and people that, have their 9 to 5, their regular business, but are incorporating travel. They're not waiting to do these things and see the world and, one day I could. No, the one day and someday is today. So Akeem, we definitely thank you for being part of our Quench Crew family today. Quench Crew, if Akeem has said something that resonated, definitely reach out, go to his channels, follow him and support him on social. And definitely, hey, if you like this video, hit the thumbs up. share it with someone else that has that travel bug or may want to be doing, is curious about a group trip, or maybe you know someone in your network that is scared of, fearful of traveling by themselves. This group trip, Live Be Do, may be the perfect answer to them. And definitely hit that subscribe button. We are growing our channel and we need each and every one of you to be part of the Quench crew and join with us. So with that, Jice, anything else?
Only thing else I had was maybe we can get two of those Live Be Do t-shirts in our way. But other than that,
Absolutely, absolutely. Live like a local or just live be do?
ooh, I'll have to think about that. I'll let you know.
Yeah, we like that. Live like a local.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
we
nice
can,
shirt you got on right there.
Right.
yeah, this is actually for I think this is, we got an experience coming up in Brazil next spring.
Oh,
So
yes.
we've already started working on that.
Okay.
But yeah, just let me know offline. Send an email. We've got proof of life.
Okay.
We got all kinds of things that encourage, put life on the front burner. All of those wonderful sayings. Whatever you need, we got you.
All right.
Okay.
We appreciate it.
Love
Yeah.
the merch. Definitely. All right, Akeem. All right,
All
Quench
right.
crew family. We'll see you on the next GenX Quench video.
Take care. Adios.
Bye-bye.
Ciao, everybody.